The following logs were recovered from a discarded mobile device in Sector 7G of the Magic Kingdom. The owner, Eli, redacted, remains missing. My name is Eli. I'm 21 years old. I had a lot going for me. Good grades in my 3rd year of university, a beautiful, wonderful fiancé, and a great job opportunity. Then it happened. It all started with him. I can't explain it. I see his face everywhere. I don't know why. I just can't seem to escape that insufferable wide plastic grin. And I don't know what to do. The doctors called it a manic episode with psychotic features. They put me on a cocktail of stabilizers that made the world feel like it was made out of wool, but they told me I needed a low-stress environment to reintegrate. That's how I ended up as a character attendant at the park. Low stress. Just stand by the mouse, smile for the guests, and keep the line moving. Except it's not low stress. Not when you're the one who has to stay within 3 feet of the big cheese for 8 hours a day. It was a Tuesday in late July. The heat index was hitting 104 degrees Fahrenheit. The kind of weather that makes the Epsom salts smell like melting tires. I was standing in the garden terrace meet and greet. My tongue felt heavy, a side effect of the meds, and I kept tapping my thigh to make sure I was still grounded in reality. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm here. I'm sane. Mickey was doing his thing, the usual aha gestures, the finger pointing, the hugs. But something was off. The performer in the suit, usually a girl named Chloe, was supposed to tap her ear when she needed a water break. Every 30 minutes like clockwork, because the heat inside those suits can kill a person. Chloe hadn't signaled in 3 hours. "Hey, Mick," I whispered, stepping closer during a gap between families. "You okay? We need to rotate. Chloe, you're gonna pass out in there." Mickey didn't look at me. He didn't nod. He just kept staring at the entrance of the queue, that permanent frozen smile reflecting the harsh Florida sun. "Chloe?" I reached out. My hand was shaking. I just wanted to tap his shoulder, to feel the familiar texture of the plush black fabric and the hard plastic cooling vest underneath. But when my fingers made contact, my stomach dropped. There was no cooling vest. There was no Chloe. My hand didn't hit a shoulder. It sank. The fabric of the suit felt like cold, damp leather, like skin that had been soaked in water for far too long. My fingers buried 3 inches deep into the chest of the mascot, and instead of the smell of sweat and detergent, I caught a whiff of something sweet, sickly sweet, like rotting fruit covered in bleach. Mickey's head didn't turn the way a human neck turns. It stayed level, but the torso spun toward me with a wet grinding sound, like a rusted hinge being forced open. Eli?" a voice called out. I jumped back, my heart hammering against my ribs so hard it hurt. It was my supervisor, Marcus. He was looking at me with that pitying expression people give you when they think you're losing your mind again. "You're talking to the airman," Marcus said, gesturing to the empty alcove. "Mickey went back for his break 10 minutes ago. You've been standing here staring at the wall." I looked back. The alcove was empty. No Mickey, no Chloe, just the loop of the Mickey Mouse Club theme song playing from the hidden speakers. I thought I saw him," I stammered, reaching for the pill bottle in my pocket. "Take 5, Eli. Go down to the tunnels and get some air." Marcus sighed. I nodded and headed for the hidden door that led to the utilidors. I told myself it was just a hallucination. I told myself the meds weren't working, but as I opened the door to the basement, I looked down at my hand. My white glove was stained with a smear of black, oily residue, and it was still pulsing. Smear on my glove didn't go away, no matter how hard I tried to rub it off. It just thinned out, turning into a gray, translucent film that smelled like a butcher shop in a basement. I descended the stairs into the utilidors, the massive network of tunnels beneath the Magic Kingdom. Usually the tunnels are a hive of activity. Electric carts zipping by, cast members in half costumes holding their heads under their arms, the smell of industrial cleaners and cafeteria food. But today the air felt thick, static. My ears were ringing, that high-pitched whine that usually signaled a manic spike. I took a deep breath, trying to use the grounding techniques my therapist taught me. Identify 5 things you can see. 1. A flickering fluorescent light. 2. A stack of empty crates. 3. A safety first poster. 4. The black stain on my hand. And 5. Him. At the end of the corridor near the entrance to the costume storage, Mickey was standing. He wasn't walking. He wasn't in character. He was just leaning against the concrete wall, his oversized yellow shoes scuffing against the floor. Chloe? I called out, my voice echoing off the damp concrete. That's not funny, man. Marcus thinks I'm having a breakdown. Mickey didn't answer. He pushed off the wall and began to walk. But he didn't walk like a performer. There was no bounce in his step. His legs moved with a heavy, rhythmic thud, and his arms swung limp at his sides like meat pendulums. I followed. I knew I shouldn't. I knew I should just go to the break room, take my secondary dose, and splash cold water on my face. But the sight of that oily residue on my glove kept me moving. I needed to know if I was crazy. He turned a corner into Sector 7G, an area under reconstruction that was supposed to be boarded up. The lights were dim, shrouded in plastic sheets that rustled to the vent's draft. "Mick, stop!" I yelled. The mascot stopped dead. He was standing in front of a heavy steel door labeled "Suit Maintenance, Authorized Personnel Only." Slowly, Mickey reached up. He didn't use his fingers to grip the door handle. Instead, his entire hand seemed to wrap around it like an octopus, the fabric of the glove stretching and thinning until I could see the dark, knotted shapes of something moving underneath. The door creaked open, and he stepped inside. I pushed through the plastic sheeting and followed him into the room. The smell hit me first. It wasn't just rotting fruit anymore. It was copper, deep, metallic blood. The room was filled with rows of industrial washing machines, all silent. Hanging from the ceiling on meat hooks were the empty skins of the mascots. Goofy, Donald, Pluto, all hollow, swaying gently in the dark. In the center of the room, Mickey stood beneath a single, naked bulb. "Chloe, take the head off," I whispered, my hand reaching for my phone to call security. "Right now." Mickey's gloved hands traveled up to his neck, but he didn't undo a zipper. He didn't unclip a latch. He dug his 4 fingers into the seam of his own throat. A sound filled the room. It wasn't a human voice. It was the sound of wet Velcro being ripped apart. The head didn't come off like a mask. It peeled back like a rind, and as the plastic grin split open, I didn't see Chloe's face. I didn't see a human at all. Inside the hollow chest cavity was a mass of black, glistening organs that looked like charred sponges, all wired together by thin, pulsing veins. There was no skeleton, just a central column of something that looked like calcified teeth. And in the center of that mess, where the heart should be, was a single human eye. It was blue, just like Chloe's. It blinked at me. Then the thing in the suit began to make a sound. A low, distorted recording of a laugh.
"Hot dog! Hot dog! Hot diggity dog!"
The voice didn't come from a throat. It came from the vibrating mass of black tissue inside the chest. The Mickey suit began to step toward me, the empty fabric of its legs filling with that black, oily sludge as it moved. My phone slipped from my hand, clattering onto the concrete. I backed away, hitting a row of hanging goofy skins. They felt cold, they felt wet. "It's the meds," I choked out, tears blurring my vision. "Eli, it's just the meds. You're in the hospital. You're going to wake up and see Sarah, and everything will be fine." But the thing didn't disappear. It reached out a long, stretching arm, the yellow shoes scraping the floor as it accelerated.
Gosh!
The distorted voice crackled, the pitch shifting from a cartoonish squeak to a guttural growl.
You look
Wonderful, Eli.
I turned and bolted for the door, but as I burst back into the hallway, I realized the lights had changed. The bright industrial utilidors were gone. The hallway was now made of faded yellowing wallpaper. The floor was covered in a stained red carpet, and every 10 feet, a framed picture of Mickey Mouse hung on the wall. Every single one of them was staring at me, and in every single one the smile was getting wider. The wallpaper was peeling, revealing layers of black mold that shaped themselves into those iconic circular ears. My breath was coming in ragged, shallow hitches. My fiancé's face, Sarah, with her bright eyes and her promise of a life outside of this madness, felt like a memory from a different century. I reached for my phone, but my pocket was empty. I reached for my mind, but it was fracturing. The hallway didn't end. It looped. Every turn brought me back to the same row of portraits, but the eyes in the frames were no longer painted. They were wet. They were tracking me. I stopped in front of the final door. It wasn't a maintenance hatch anymore. It was a replica of the door to the apartment Sarah and I had just put a deposit on. My name was on the lease, taped to the wood in familiar handwriting. "Sarah?" I whispered, my voice cracking. I pushed the door open. It didn't lead to a kitchen or a living room. It led to a soundstage, a perfect sterile recreation of the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. The colors were sickeningly bright. The grass was made of stiff plastic bristles, and the sky was painted a blue dome. In the center of the stage, the thing was waiting. It wasn't wearing the suit anymore. The suit had become the skin. The black, oily sludge had hardened into a matte, leathery hide. It stood 7 feet tall now, its proportions elongated like a shadow at sunset. The yellow shoes had fused into its feet, and the white gloves were now huge four-fingered talons that dripped with that same sickly sweet rot. "You're not real," I screamed, clutching my head. "This is insane. I missed a dose. I'm in Sector 7G having a seizure." The creature stepped out of the clubhouse. It moved with a jittery stop-motion gait, its frame clicking like a film projector. "Oh, Eli," it chirped. The voice was a perfect mimicry of my own. "The meds don't hide the truth. They just make the truth harder to swallow." It reached behind its head and pulled. With a sound of breaking glass and tearing meat, it peeled back its own face. Behind the Mickey mask wasn't a monster. It was me. It was my face, but paralyzed in that wide plastic grin. My eyes were rolled back, showing only the whites, and my skin was the color of bruise. "The park needs a heart, Eli," my own face said to me, the jaw unhinging further than humanly possible. Chloe was a good heart, but she's worn out. I looked down at the floor. Strewn across the plastic grass were the discarded pieces of the previous hearts. Chloe's engagement ring, the one she always wore on a chain around her neck, lay in a puddle of black bile. The realization hit me harder than the creature ever could. This wasn't a hallucination. The episodes, the manic features, they were just the park's way of tenderizing a mind before it was consumed. They didn't hire me because I was recovering. They hired me because I was already halfway gone. The creature loomed over me, the black void of its chest opening like a hungry mouth. I saw the veins, the teeth, and the empty space waiting for a new occupant. Sarah, I sobbed, closing my eyes.
Don't worry, pal.
Creature whispered, its voice now merging into 1,000 different voices, men, women, children, all laughing in a distorted happy chorus.
We'll send her an invite. See you real soon.
The next morning, the Magic Kingdom opened its gates at 9 a.m. sharp. The sun was bright, the churros were hot, and the music was playing. A young couple approached the Mickey Mouse at the entrance. The attendant, a new guy named Marcus, smiled and waved the family forward. "He's in a great mood today," Marcus told the couple. The man took a photo of his daughter hugging the mouse. He didn't notice that Mickey's grip was a little too tight. He didn't notice the faint, muffled sound of a man screaming that seemed to be coming from inside the mascot's chest. And he definitely didn't notice that beneath the white glove, the mouse's hand was pulsing with the rhythm of a fresh, terrified heart.